Hello and welcome to a new video on our channel. Today we are reacting to what's going on in Bangladesh. We know that there is a political revolution, there is a social revolution happening in Bangladesh, and we are excited to get what's going on, check out what's going on there.
Yeah.
It's going to do a lot of good for the country.
Bangladesh, where tens of thousands of students and their supporters have gathered in the capital Dhaka to demand the resignation of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. They blame the government for a violent crackdown on dissent, which has left at least 200 people dead in recent protests against
200.
All students.
Let's get more on the story from Nusrat Chowdhury, Associate Professor of Anthropology at Amherst College in Massachusetts in the United States and author of Paradoxes of the Popular: Crowd Politics in Bangladesh. Thanks for joining us on DW. So, despite the recent deadly violence, people, as we've seen, are back on the streets protesting. What is it that's making them demonstrate?
So, as you know, that the protest started to reform the quota system that the students thought was discriminatory. But
this we already know, right? And they had the protests
that the government has used. More than 200 people have died, which is a conservative estimate.
Amazing.
According to a UNICEF statistic, 32 children have died. Now the demand has shifted to change in the political hierarchy of the country itself, because the students and ordinary citizens who have expressed their solidarity with the students have actually realized that the quota system is just a kind of symptom of a larger problem in which this regime for the last 15 years has been using excessive force.
It's like the tip of the iceberg.
Unaccountable for the violence and the repression that has affected ordinary citizens for a long time. So it's not surprising that the movement has now shifted to becoming an oppositional movement rather than one that is more focused on the quota reform itself.
All right, now
that's
you just touched on it there. So the students have just one demand now. They previously had a list of 9. So if Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina concedes that one demand and steps down, would this be the end of the protests?
That's really hard to tell. We are actually standing on very unsteady grounds. It's a set of unfolding events. Clearly, the events of the last 15 days or so have shown us that there's a lot of grievances. There's a lot of resentment against the way in which ordinary citizens have their lives have been affected. So there should be some
200 people died
for that kind of resentment, for those kinds of grievances, right?
That's only on the record, though. Off record, maybe.
She said it's conservative.
Hierarchy shifts, but the fact that a movement that had nothing to do with politics in the larger scheme of things became congealed around one political demand at the moment actually reveals that there has been a kind of long history of demands of ordinary citizens that are being unmet. And not only that, that whenever students or primary school teachers or environmentalists have tried to make demands, they have either been dismissed, or they have been subjected to violent repression, or they have been slandered, like it has happened this time, that either they belong to the opposition party or they're the so-called collaborators who, had sided with the West Pakistanis during the War of Independence. So this is a kind of rhetoric that the students have really turned on its head and now is demanding actual political changes.
All right, we'll have to leave it there, Nusrat. Thanks for joining us on DW. Nusrat Chowdhury, Associate Professor of Anthropology at Amherst College in Massachusetts.
Tasneem Khalil is a Bangladeshi journalist living in Sweden and the editor-in-chief of Netra News. Welcome to DW. Protesters in Bangladesh are now calling for a nationwide disobedience movement where citizens are being asked to not pay their taxes, not to pay their utility bills. Do we have a sense of how widespread this could be and how effective it might be as a tactic?
Well, this is proving to be very, very successful and widespread right now. We're getting reports that people have started participating across the country. But we're also getting reports of fresh violence against protesters, at this time by members of the government party, the ruling party, and its apparatus. So, I mean, it looks successful up until now.
Tell us more about these reports of violence that you've mentioned. Where is this taking place, and what exactly are we seeing here?
We are seeing, I mean, since last night, we have been hearing that because the government, because the authorities, the police and the army, sort of failed to quell the protests, and the protesters have resumed their...
We saw them using guns, right?
Yeah,
in one of the
it's true.
videos, yeah.
Massive numbers. The government decided to deploy its armed, let's say, armed goons, ruling party goons, against the protesters from this morning. So we are getting reports from different parts in Dhaka. Munshiganj is one district where we are getting reports of protesters being violently attacked by ruling party members, activists, carrying firearms, and also other kind of lethal weapons.
Now, protesters, of course, have been demanding that Sheikh Hasina resign and face trial for a police crackdown for this very kind of thing on protesters last month. How likely do you think she is to go?
Well, I have been on DW before, and I said the same thing. I don't see a way out for Sheikh Hasina. I don't see a path for her to...
I mean, if the whole
This is
country...
old news, by the way. She has already left the country.
Oh, okay.
More than 200 people, students, have been killed by the police forces.
So you're saying
She
2000?
has ultimate command responsibility over
2000?
Yeah, more than
I think
2000
for
have been killed.
stable Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina needs to step down. Sheikh Hasina needs to accept the lead.
She has left the country.
by the protesters.
And what about the rest of her?
So I guess she
At
has stepped
this
down.
stage, do
Yeah,
you see
I mean, yeah.
reconciliation
Sure, out of the
as
country.
possible? You think she will have to go? She, of course, has been asking protesters, though, to sit down with her and talk. Is there going to be any path forward that way?
No, you cannot have a dialogue with someone who calls you for a dialogue and then unleashes the police forces
Yeah.
and the arms and indiscriminate shootings. So the protesters do have some logic, some rhyme and reason to whatever they're saying. They're saying that yes, and we are citizens of Bangladesh, and obviously citizens would like to have a good relationship.
I mean, it looks like the whole country is
But not
protesting
with the
against the government, right?
Yeah. You cannot keep the government in that situation.
Definitely there will be reconciliation after this crisis, but before that, the current
How can you do this to
government
peaceful
needs
protesters?
to step
Horrible.
down. That's exactly what the protesters are demanding.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on DW News. That is Tasneem Khalil with that call. He's a Bangladeshi journalist living in Sweden. We very much appreciate your time, as always.
So yeah, basically she has left the country.
Do you know where she is?
I'm not sure. Some people say she might be in India. I'm not really sure.
Oh, I mean, she must be close.
Yes, she's yeah, somewhere in like South Asia for the moment.
Obviously, she resigned. I mean, you cannot keep ruling a country from abroad.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it does happen, but I think in this case she
Yeah.
has stepped down, and they elected a Nobel Prize winner, if I'm not sure, a Nobel Prize winner to rule the country. And I'm honestly, like, I'm all praise for what the common citizens of Bangladesh did. This was, in my opinion, this is a revolution. They have made sure that corrupt governments, oppressive governments, cannot continue to rule.
Yeah.
Even in countries of South Asia, they cannot do this. They need to, like, basically have all the characteristics of a properly working democracy. No corruption, no oppression.
Yeah.
You need to listen to people, and that's what the Bangladeshi students have proved today. So
Yeah. It's funny because this whole revolution, like you're saying, started from something fairly small, if you think about it. I mean, really important, obviously, but it's kind of like make
Cannot
people
believe-
realize that there's even more issues that need to be
Because
solved.
obviously the steps that were taken by the government for this protest, which the policy itself was fairly discriminatory,
Yeah.
and that's why there were the protests. But the government, the corrupt government and oppressive government, used police force and
Violence,
even
yeah.
military force to subdue the protest.
Yeah, it's obviously overreacting on their part.
Yeah,
Those protesters were peaceful students who have
students. Yeah,
every right to ask for justice.
what they think they deserve: justice
yeah.
and a properly working
Equality.
government.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad to see that.
I'm
They
glad to
got
see they
what they wanted.
they got justice, and this is exactly what we've been talking in our channel, right? We wanted peace and justice to be delivered to the people.
Wish it had happened earlier so that all those people did not die.
Yeah.
But
anyway, at least they got the result.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
really
a lot
important.
of sacrifices had to be made, to get to the point where they now have peace and justice. But yeah, at least they got the result. That's what I'm
the
happy
most
about.
important.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
They got what they wanted.
And we don't know what the current situation is in Bangladesh, but if anyone from Bangladesh is watching our video, please let us know in the comment section how the country is doing now and how the country is going to progress, because now you don't have an oppressive, corrupt government.
Yeah. Let's hope for the
Excited
best.
To see what's going to happen in the next couple of years in Bangladesh. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.